Welcome to the Mysteries of the Feeling Realm, a podcast where we explore our relationship to our feelings, to these vibrations and sensations that are constantly moving through us, but that we have so much judgment on and we are desperately trying to heal. So what if the feeling realm is profoundly misperceived? So join us, Cole and Lorella, as we explore this terrain and what it might feel like to befriend and welcome every single drop of your experience in a relaxed and kind and deeply receptive body. So as you can probably tell, we are shifting gears in the way that we speak. So we thought we would do a little introduction so that you have a sense of where we are going and why we would be doing that.
That's right. And particularly because we're going to be speaking quite slowly. I love that introduction, by the way.
That's Cole on guitar.
Oh, thank you, darling. And so we decided that it would be good to start in a normal pace because what's coming next comes from a different realm, comes from the mysteries of the feeling realm, which is much slower and much deeper than conscious awareness. Actually, that's how I came to realize that my whole life I wasn't actually feeling, even so I thought I was feeling, until this feeling realm fully I was going to cry now.
He does a lot.
But it's a crying. It's like a crying of my heart, because it was such a gift to enter onto this realm. It was like I just did not know it existed, and what I called my feelings were actually not my feelings. They were just my thoughts about feelings.
Yeah.
So when this came, it was so profound to be introduced to something absolutely brand new. But one of the qualities of this realm is speed, and that's very slow.
Yeah.
And actually, that's what trained me to speak slower.
Yeah, and you'll be going into that a little bit in the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there is something here, like when we talk about feelings, we're actually speaking about the vibrations and sensations that are beneath the experience that we're currently having. So we interchange the words emotion and feelings. Emotions are fast, they're reactive, they're very strong, they have a very strong connection to our past, and we are very caught up in them, and we're very identified to them, and we label them very clearly, and we have a sense of what they are. Whereas in the feeling realm, they do not have labels. They're actually vibrations and sensations that we sense with both the physical and the energetic body. And it's the way that we're meeting them which is actually causing the problem. But we're just doing a little intro. It's hard for us not to go on, isn't it?
It's very hard.
Yeah. So we've already recorded the podcast, but we realised that it would be such a shift in your pace and that you may not be able to make a transition unless we introduced this to you of why you would want to go at this pace and how can we help you make that transition. First of all, listening with the body. We're so used to listening to so much content with the mind that it could even be annoying to go slowly. So we're really inviting you to drop into the body and to really feel what we're saying without necessarily even understanding it. So just see if you can actually allow your feeling body to meet ours.
And maybe I say what inspired me to want to do this podcast with you because I was listening to one of your podcasts, and what was quite interesting that while I was listening to it, I could not really fully relate to some of the things you were saying. However, the next day, I had such an experience. I had such, like, a dawn on me. And I like to stress this in here too, that it might not make sense while we're talking, but because the feeling body is so slow, it might take a day or even 3 days. And suddenly it will just kick in. You'll go like, oh, I can hear what they're talking about. So that was very inspiring. Because on a day, I wasn't really sure that I could follow it. But in few days, it really hit me deep.
Yeah.
And really stayed with me. And I like when things stay with me. You know, when you watch a good movie,
Yeah.
and then a few days later, you go like, God, that movie really went in somewhere.
Yeah.
Really moved something, some good quality feelings in me, right? And so...
Yeah, it is a very different dimension. And one of the main reasons that Cole and I are doing this podcast is because we are both like lovers of the feeling realm. Like we just love the feeling realm so much. We came into it through completely different traditions, through completely different explorations, through completely different feeling bodies. I mean, I'm completely overwhelmed in my feeling body. They always have been so strong. Whereas for Cole, he was coming down to feel. He wanted to feel his feelings. So this podcast, we're actually having a conversation and we're learning each other's, not modality, but we're listening to each other's journey and each other's inspirations as ways of learning for ourselves. Because Cole ignites, like he'll just say something for me that I'll be like, oh, I'll take that into my body and I'll play with it. And I give him like messages from the feeling realm that he doesn't know that will support and inspire his journey. And in that process, we hope that it ignites something for you and illuminates something, because this realm is not the realm of thinking. In fact, if your mind comes with you, the gateway closes.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so what we're doing is a bit unusual. So kind of like, allow yourself to meander with us. And what we're doing is unscripted. We are feeling for what is alive and we're following it. So that's happening within our bodies and it's happening between our bodies. And you might sense when that starts to happen throughout the podcast. So is there anything else that you want to share, Cole? Or maybe, what for you is the absolute peace that you would like to convey? Do you want to just give across as a quick gift?
Be open to complete unknown and unexpected realm.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, well, that's a really good one, because the feeling realm, like, we don't know
Exactly.
how to rest down this deeply. We don't even know that it's a possibility. And when we touch it, it's like, no, really, I can't. Am I really allowed to be that relaxed? Like that would be it for me. Meeting the feeling realm, because I was so strong in the feeling body and we were piercing into the feeling body to understand it. And it wasn't until I learned to completely shift my attention off the feelings and into the depths of the ocean and receive the feeling at its incredibly subtle vibration that things started to open for me.
Yeah. And I love watching you doing this, because I can physically see that you've re-entered into the realm of feeling just then. It's just so visible. It actually shapeshifts you. Like your face becomes different and suddenly everything becomes a little bit more wavy, as if, and flowing rather than sequential and timely.
And precise. you know. And I think you're right. Like, in order for us to speak it, we need to be in connection with it in our body. And therefore we just naturally will speak slower. So anyway, we're going to just keep coming back here, but we just wanted to do a little introduction. We can never do anything little. And help you transition into the speed that we're just about to go into now. So enjoy. And I hope you stay with us and, don't drive while you listen.
Okay.
Enjoy. Well, the feeling realm is definitely very mysterious. And I guess we could start with, what does that evoke for you, Cole?
Like on a deepest level for me is that emergence of non-projected feelings or ideas onto my feeling realm, but stepping back and allowing the mysteries of feelings to reveal themselves to me. Not like going into my feeling realm, but stepping back and allowing it to bless me with its mysteries. What about you?
Well, I like what you say about how we project onto feelings and how they just don't have room to breathe. They don't have room to reveal themselves because we are labeling them as they move, and as they move through our bodies unconsciously, we are already like perceiving them in very particular and narrow ways. So we either blend with them, and what I mean by that is if a sensation moves through us and has what we perceive a negative tone to it, we might become that tone. So if we are sensing a vibration that feels like doubt, we might fall into that feeling and move with that feeling in a particular way that is so deeply habitual. So we become it, we merge with it, and we move it in a particular direction. We grasp onto it. And similarly, like a movement will move through us that we don't particularly like, and before we're even aware of it, we're actually blocking it or bracing against it, pretending it's not there, contracting in our bodies. And so these ways that we are perceiving feelings actually restricts their movement and allows us only to meet that vibration in incredibly narrow ways. So we don't open to the mystery, we don't make space for these vibrations because we are so completely on top of them, where our bodies are so rigid and we have these very narrow views of what feelings are. We're incredibly influenced by our current perception of the feeling body as something very negative, something that we need to fix, something we need to get rid of. We're very influenced by the lens of psychotherapy and psychology. And even a lot of spiritual traditions that see feelings really negatively, like they are the cause of our suffering, which is an incredible misperception. And therefore, when they move, we are already relating to them and fixing them as problematic. And just that in itself, that way that we perceive them as negative, the way that we move with them or against them in our bodies, means that they behave in very restricted and predictable ways that make them look like they're a problem. It sort of continues this negative perception of them. So yeah, we don't get to experience the mystery because we're not relating to them as divine energies. Yeah.
That they are, hey?
They are so divine.
Yeah. I remember in my early days it was like feeling that we don't even discuss it. It was like a burden on me. And then step by step learning how incredible they are. And yeah, like you said, the divine.
I mean, you might even want to speak a little bit about what was your journey. I mean, we have very different feeling bodies, you and I. And we have had very different traditions that influenced us, that we have been exploring through, or that have held us, that have given us particular views, that have really supported us to inquire into and experience these sensations and vibrations very differently. So let's start with you, Cole. How have feelings revealed themselves to you?
Well, being a musician originally, playing classical guitar my whole life, that naturally made me feel, but I wasn't aware of it as such. And then one day I was doing this test, some kind of NLP something, and I found out that I was highly visual, highly auditory, and only very little kinesthetic, which means feeling. And whoever was suggesting that test said, if you want to be a balanced person, you need to evolve the ones that you're a little bit behind. And since feelings were so low, I started going like, okay, I need to really look into this feeling realm. And it was suggested to speak slowly. And I was speaking so fast. I was always in a hurry to achieve everything in my life. And then from day to day, I just went so slow. We weren't slower than this. And just slowing down have brought up an incredible space for the feelings to join in with my thinking and with my hearing. But I spent months talking extremely slowly. So that was my beginning.
I mean, you were already in kind of spiritual communities, weren't you? Kind of devoted to inquiry. So it also allowed you to...
But this was way before that even.
Wow.
This was my beginning,
awesome.
My first little glimpses. And then I go, oh my God, there's so much there. Then I came across some spiritual teachings that were actually directly feeling oriented, but they were also had that God element to it. That was, let's get real with God. Let's just really find out what it is. And then I realized that deeper I went, the more mysterious and more divine those feelings became. First, I had to go through this layer, like a crust, I call it, of the feelings we know. The one we named, we call them names.
Like emotions,
anger,
and sadness.
Sadness and grief and shame and all those, eh? And then I realized some of them were more emotions and some were more like the feelings. I could feel the difference between them. But then something quite amazing happened, that I went past through this crust and fell into this mysterious realm that it was, for me, it was divine. The divine union. I had the divine union with my feelings, so within myself was the whole union. And then these divine feelings began to be informative. They would show me what they were by feelings, by experiences.
So they were more vibration, sensation, because that resonates with my tradition, which is a Buddhist tradition, where emotions are more the formations. They're kind of all these stories, and they're very strong, they're very clear, we respond, we're in them in a very strong way, whereas feelings in Buddhism is more the vibrations of, pleasant, unpleasant and neutral, and it's just prior to perception. So they're actually the unnamed sensations that are underneath, and that is a very different experience.
Right there, we're talking about exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Then I find out that most of it had a lot to do with the way my mind was perceiving and being open to them.
So your attitude towards them was changing it.
Yeah, from punitive and rejective and controlling, not allowing feelings to be what they really wanted to be. I think most of the work, if there was any, was with my mind to prepare it from a thinking mind into presence. I learned how to be present with my feelings.
How do you do that? Like just that little piece? How do you do that? How do you prepare your mind? What does it feel like? What's the difference between when you're meeting them in a punitive way and when you're meeting them with this depth of presence?
Well, it was kind of like a dislodging my mind from its fixed position, viewpoints, dislodging belief systems that I was attached to. So it was a lot about emptying my mind from the way it was looking, the way it was seeing. And then, so let me just put it this way. By doing so, I had this kind of like an awakening. My mind just blew open. I felt like my head open. And suddenly I was like in this divine order of some kind, which was so different to anything that I was expecting. So that was the beginning of it. But I was still getting triggered. It's like an awake state, but I was like, still felt annoyances and, things were triggering me. And so then I began to look through this more open mind into going like, what are the triggers? And I realized that my attitude towards triggers were punitive. It's like a trigger, like, oh, not this thing again. Right? Because I just wanted to be in that space that was so vast and open and cosmic, really.
Yeah.
And something was always dragging me back in here, like triggers, you know. And then I realized that I have a very bad attitude towards these triggers, like they shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually realized that by journeying, by going like, okay, yay, triggers, I want to befriend you. I want to at one with you, and at the atonement, the ultimate atonement. I want to be one with you. Like, who are you? Let me get to know you. And then it was what was mysterious about that? That suddenly the feelings were saying like, well, we also want to know you. So learning to go into that like an honesty and actually expressing to my feelings how much I didn't like them, and revealing my hidden levels of non-acceptance of them, and making it visible, making it, it's like, hey, feelings, I don't like it, I don't like you, and I don't like myself not liking you on top of it. So it was like a lot of work was actually more with my mind, until the mind changed into presence. I don't know how it happened. I did a lot of work with men and men's groups and learning how to be present with another person, how to be present with the feminine, with women. And that was beautiful, because I realized a lot of my relationship to my feelings were very similar to what I had towards my female friends and my partners. So yeah, that was my journey.
Yeah, beautiful.
Had a lot to do with the mind, actually. Like a mind awakened to the fact. It's almost like the double vision of the two eyes have turned into one eye. And that one eye became present for feelings through a vision, like an inner vision, which could actually really see feelings for what they truly were, by stepping back and allowing the feelings to inform the mind about themselves. So that was the mystery. It's like, hello feeling, tell me more about yourself, by
Making space, huh? Like really
making space and creating this really safe space for them.
Yeah, I really love that. It's a relationship to them that really is very different to one that is trying to heal them, get rid of them, fix them.
That's it.
And has an attitude that they're problematic, that they shouldn't be here. And so much of that is unconsciously happening. So I really hear in your journey there became a really clear awareness of, oh my God, I actually do not like these feelings. Wow, like I am fully judging them and then judging myself for judging them. And that's quite a strong level of awareness to actually be able to see that judgment, original judgment, and then the judgment of the judgment. It's incredibly powerful and usually happening beneath awareness.
Yeah. And it still continues. It's like a never-ending mystery. It's like it opens and then it opens more, and it's like a different level of communication. And when they disappear, I begin to really pay attention. What did I just do? That my feeling realm's just not with me.
Beautiful.
Well, how about you? Like, what was your beginning? How did it start for you with feelings?
Before I go there, I just want to name one thing that you said, which was really beautiful, and I think incredibly. I mean, in many ways it's so obvious, but it's so hard for us to see this, is that we're actually rejecting our moment-to-moment experience. So much. And we're doing it with the mind, and it's happening in the body. So to be able to come down and go, wow, what would happen if I just start to let my experience be just as it is?
Yeah.
And let that inform me, but like just actually let it be. So I just wanted to kind of name that, because we, like, this is our human experience, and yet we're in this kind of fight with it the whole time, rather than because we're so scared of it and it's really intense for many.
Beautifully put.
Yeah, so I just want to name that.
And also just to find that next question, like, be with it, and can you allow them?
Yeah, can you let them be?
And if you're really honest, what's the answer? Many times saying, no, I can't.
Yeah. Well, I think that, initially, I think that's really the
that's
thing.
what I mean.
Yeah, totally. Like we cannot let them be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just incredible layers of judgment. And, as you said before, there's emotions, and then there's these other experiences that we don't even notice, like confusion or dissociation and numbness or tiredness. We don't see them as states to be welcomed, feelings to be welcomed. We've got massive amounts of judgment of them, and then we're judging that we're in that. So, I mean, this whole realm.
And how about nothing?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing is a feeling.
Totally.
It's like we're feeling nothing, like, wow, great, let's have a look at that. Nothing. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, totally.
Again, I love your responses. Like, it's like, oh, yeah. Because there's so much in nothing. Suddenly it's everything, isn't it?
I mean, there are just certain ones that I love. Like, I love meeting confusion, and I love meeting dissociation, which is very similar to nothing.
Nice.
It's anyway. We're just going to keep going off on a million tangents. But,
oh my God, we're so good at that.
We're going to come back to these another podcast. But
let's come back to you. Where did it start for you?
Yes, well, my journey started in the polar opposite to yours. My journey started with a lot of overwhelming feeling. So my feeling body is just so loud, and has been from a very young age. Like, I was drowning in my feeling realm. One of the things I didn't realize was that not everyone feels to this degree. I just assumed that everyone had the same kind of feeling body, and that because my feelings were so loud and so intense, that it obviously indicated that there was something really wrong with me. That that the presence of shame and worthlessness and this constant feeling that whatever I did was never good enough, I assumed that everyone kind of must be so together because they're not crippled by these feelings and they're not talking about them. So I immersed myself in my early 20s in meditation retreats and the study and practice of somatic psychotherapy, because it was the only place that talked about it. So this is 30 years ago as well, even less kind of, acceptance and tolerance of negative states. And so my journey was really, how on earth do I meet these experiences? And at that stage, I was desperately trying to heal them. So the frame that I was given was that I had, complex PTSD, So I was kind of looking at it that it was a result of my childhood and my meditation. I had to work harder. So that was my first 20 years, kind of trying to get them under control. And, long retreats were the only times where I would actually have a break from the intensity. So for me, I had to learn maps of the mind to make sense of, which really helped initially. I realized, 20 years into it, and I was in my early 40s, and I was just like, oh, none of this works, actually. Therapy doesn't work, meditation doesn't work. In fact, even though there was stability, there was this incredible intensity in my experience as soon as I did anything wrong, or as soon as I, experienced rejection or judgment. It was so overwhelming. So for me, it only came later on in my journey when I started to learn to actually rest in the calmness and spaciousness of my body, not to get rid of the feelings, but to welcome them.
Exactly.
So the frame that I had was a Tibetan Buddhist somatic practicing lineage that really taught me to place my attention differently. So for me, in my body, none of it could come from the mind. It just didn't. The mind or any attitude didn't make a difference in my feeling body, but learning to place most of my attention into the calm and into the spaciousness, and to start to bow to these feelings. To start to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I am completely misperceiving you, really starting to understand that it was my perception of the feelings that was causing the suffering. And that in order to get to know them, because my feeling body was so loud, I had to learn to turn the volume down by not looking at them directly.
Wow, that's really good.
So for people who are, really strong in the feeling body, something like somatic psychotherapy can actually be like pouring petrol onto a fire.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps your perception glued into what you think you're meeting.
That's such an important distinction right there, because I totally relate to it myself. I remember having these incredible feelings, so strong, and me just going, hey feelings, I can't handle this. Could you slow down? And I was amazed how intelligent that whole feeling realm is. It's just said, okay, I'll give it to you in small increments. And it's completely communicative. Once I developed that
Communication.
with it, it just said, okay, let's do it in smaller bits. And, opening space, more space for feelings to play in. Rather than compressed as they can be. Yeah. I like that you mentioned that.
Yeah, that really, I really like that you mentioned this. They are so intelligent.
I know.
And when you start to meet them with humility and with this attitude of, I am so sorry, and how can I begin to meet you? How can I begin to feel with you so that I understand you? And they completely change in their vibration. I mean, for starters, they're actually really surprised when you notice them. They are so surprised that someone is actually communicating with them.
And they're almost shocked.
They're shocked.
Because they go like, are you talking to me?
They're so used to being they're so used to being ignored, rejected. They're so used to being treated like they're problematic and traumatic, and that they've given up.
Mm-hmm.
So when you meet them like this, they're like, they do exactly that. They're like, what, sorry? Like, what, did someone just notice me?
Or they don't even believe this is happening.
God, I can't believe we're having this conversation. That's just, they behave in very particular ways. At first, they're so shocked and they love it. They love that someone's noticed them, and then they don't trust you.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Exactly. Same page.
It's just like,
totally
okay,
don't trust you.
I don't trust you, and we are going to have to build a relationship, and the trust isn't on my side, it's on theirs. I've got to wait for them to trust me, and that can take some time because they are really, they're just so used to being squashed, rejected, perceived negatively. They're just like, I'm not
they're
going to
timid.
be seen.
They're so timid.
They're in so much pain, and they're so used to being rejected for eons that they can hardly move.
And that is the pain, is that rejection. They're just like a little child when you don't give it any attention. What is it going to look like? That's the light they need to receive. And for them, a lot of light is not necessarily better.
Say a little bit more about that.
Oh my God, I'm going to be in total meltdown. And then you hear it, you know what I loved about it? That you hear what I'm saying, and I, of course, hear what you're saying totally. That's really quite fascinating. That some of them never met any light because they just keep meeting this rejection, punitive attitudes, dismissal, and completely like oblivion. Like, what feelings? What are you talking about? What's that? Actually, sometimes I compare it to like a nuclear satellites, like there's mind is these little satellites. It's like pointing at these feelings, or like, you move, we'll shoot you down.
Yeah.
That's how it actually shows on a manifestation in the world. Like when you look at it, the whole army and all of that, all the nuclear power, it's all so controlled. I mean, that's the feelings are like a nuclear power because they're so compressed. When it finally begins to open up, they really just want to pour out, and we're so scared of it. I think I was freaked out.
I just want to say that when you just said that metaphor of like the mind is there, and with this thing of like, you move, I'm going to shoot you, I just really cried. Like it's a beautiful metaphor, and it is this thing where they're not just a little bit rejected, they are hated. We hate them. They move in us. A sense of insecurity moves in us, and we hate ourselves for it.
And we're terrified of them.
And we're terrified that they're going to ruin everything.
The terror we feel is actually not the feeling. It's us being scared of them.
Yeah.
Like the fear of God that is mentioned in some scriptures, It's fear of feelings.
Fear of feelings.
Because when they come in their beauty and in their splendor and in their exquisite, delicious mystery, it's freaky for the mind to realize how wrong it was.
Yeah.
And,
It's freaky, and it's really profoundly beautiful. Like, I mean, it is just, I think for me, when you start to make space for the feeling realm, when you start to kind of, actually, I'm not going to fight you anymore. I really want to get to know you. Like, it's a direct experience.
Wow.
It's not a conceptual experience with the mind. When you start to go, I'm going to make space, I'm going to welcome this vibration. How do I welcome this vibration? And you start to actually commune with them, even the slowest, tiniest melting. The experience is profound because you don't get it from the mind. You just get this direct experience of like, oh my God, I have totally misperceived you, and it is the most incredible self-forgiveness. And it's not like forgiving yourself for doing something wrong. It's this like, oh, it's me. I'm doing this to myself.
Like I said, oh my God, because that's where you're God, your God state, your God you, the child of God. Yeah.
It's awe. It's an experience of awe to see that this vibration is actually love that has been rejected. It's the vibration of existence itself.
Yes. And for me, the way that came was like I changed my attitude towards feelings from punitive to loving, which I had to kind of was like, I don't even know how to love you, but asking, hey, God, how can I love you, right? And then develop that genuine love for them. It's like, oh, feelings, like my shame is like, sweetheart, come here. And it was the most incredible moment of my so far existence as I know it was when not only that I began to love my feelings and my feelings began to love me back and created the heart, created the child of the two, the masculine and feminine in me, birthed this heart that was brand new. Has nothing to do with what I thought love was.
Yeah.
Suddenly it was this like, oh, this is the divine union within. Oh my God, where are we going with this, huh?
From what I understand, through my own experience, and it's so interesting because you say, because you're coming from like this strong light and the strong mind, the strong spirit, down into receiving and welcoming feeling body. I'm coming from like swimming in the feeling realm.
Yeah.
And like in a way we've got so many similar things that we did, but like from the opposite direction. So like when you go, how, I don't even know how to welcome you, I don't even know how to receive you, but I'm trying. Mine was, I don't know how to feel with you because you terrify me in the body, like you're so overwhelming. So mine was more like, where do I place my attention in order for me to be able to stay open in every single cell of my being to receive this vibration? So I would have to place my attention pretty much in like outer space and deep in the earth and so wide. I would look for the space outside of that vibration that normally pulls me in because of its intensity. And so my question was, I don't know how to feel with you. I don't know how to receive you with an open being. And that was my intention, and then I would let my body find the way, and it would be, all my practice sessions would be hours because it was, I'd have a really intense feeling, and it was like, how do I meet you? But every single drop of those hours was so delicious because it was like the complete opposite of anything I had ever done. And just even that kind of paradoxical turning was, it was so delicious for me and for the feeling realm that somebody was wanting to receive it with love, with an openness. You know, and you say it births in the heart. When I could be incredibly present, my concentration, if I meet the feeling realm, my concentration locks on. I don't have to sit in meditation. If I'm making space for the feeling realm, I can be so present for hours without effort. And when I can be with a sensation and open up and it can move through me in this incredibly subtle terrain, and then it can move through the heart, I can feel it through the heart. There's something that happens where the feeling and presence become like this electromagnetic field, like electric from the mind and the magnetic from the feeling. And when that balances and there is this kind of equal meeting of both, it's
wow.
It's like, it's awe.
Yes.
And it's not only, or it's like this direct communication with God, but so much insight is illuminated through the body. It just like shows me through the body, like all the times I have misperceived this vibration or how I've moved from it, or I can't even put it into words.
But you know, just the way you speak it, for me it's like a revelatory. You know, like it's a revelation of what that actually is really like from that will's perspective, the feeling around perspective. And what I love about it is that you're transferring just by going there. I'm feeling it everywhere. And then another thing I really loved, how your voice changed when you came into that heart space. Like you just suddenly spoke totally differently. It was incredible just to listen to you.
Yeah. There's an alignment that happens in the body where the energy can move through, and it's in this alignment with what is.
Yes.
It's not changing what is. You know, what would be considered shame, that could be really intense feeling when given space, is a vibration that I've never been able to be with. And I come into alignment with what is actually, get this, present.
Exactly.
Hello.
And then you said another thing there, and you said something to be present for. Because, you know, we as men, from my perspective, when you show me that, what you just revealed so eloquently, so beautifully, right? But somatically at the same time, that I felt the transference of that experience. That makes me present. That, because I have something to be present for. So when I just hear words, I go like, I've got already plenty of those thoughts in my mind. But when you bring this quality into the mix, I go like, oh, hello. I'm learning. I'm being informed virtually by the divine. It's like, oh, now I'm present. Because there is something to be present for.
Yeah.
Let me put it into this. I think there is like in this world, the way I see it, there is like this stalemate. Like women are waiting for this presence, so present men. And I think men are waiting for women to enter these realms. So we have that present to be present for. And I think men are waiting for women, and women are waiting for men, and there's this stalemate where it's just not happening. So like, well, who's going to start? Well, we don't know yet.
I'm totally with you. And the reality is, unless we learn how to be present to this level of intensity within us, because let's just say a feeling of insecurity arises. And, it arises in response to your partner's behavior. Rather than seeing this response is happening in me, it is a pattern
this is so
that's
good.
arising. So normally we go into the pattern arises, we experience it as insecurity, or I'm not feeling safe because you did that. And then we get the perception of what we think is happening and the reaction, and we go into the emotion and we're blaming.
Exactly.
So in order to be able to stay present to my experience that, let's say I have to perceive as, okay, and my starting point is up comes insecurity. So if I can start to be present to this vibration of insecurity and I start to meet that with love within myself, I come out of any drop of story of what is happening because I would know this feeling well in myself. And I start to give that space and start to let that inform me, which is a journey. It's not a kind of 5-minute thing. When I start to have a relationship to my feeling body and start to be able to let that inform me.
Beautiful.
And what you're saying is if I communicate that, wow, I'm feeling this feeling that terrifies me or that I interpret as such and such, and I really stay with that sensation in my body, even when I have no idea what it is, and I vibrate that.
Yes.
Then my partner is receiving the vulnerability underneath all my protectors. And more than likely, his little army will just kind of like put down their weapons. And we're starting from a very different perspective. But, I guess what I'm saying is, in response to what you're saying is, unless we know how to meet these feelings
first,
we can't, learning to vibrate them, learning to let them move, learning to let them inform us, and learning to communicate and get to know them, then we're just coming from these deeply entrenched belief systems that are personal and collective, and they just feel so real, and they're so deeply, deeply entrenched. So we're at a stalemate, but in order to kind of unravel that stalemate,
we've got to begin. And one of us begins, one becomes extremely present. They're present for their own feelings, so they no longer blame you, right? Because when a woman blames a man, he thinks he's done something wrong immediately. And now he's gone. He's out. It's like, oh, God, it's my fault again.
But he's already in his little protective pattern.
But when you begin to make that feeling visible for him, I love that expression, making the feeling visible. And, the way I see it, like feelings don't talk. Feelings feel, and their avenue of expression is of itself in a feeling vibration. And we men actually are very attuned to that, but we don't see much of it, because I guess of the insecurity, of the not enough safety, not enough trust. We don't get that direct. We get, let me put it to him this way, maybe he will understand. And then it's translated from feeling into mental realm, and I get in your mental sort of what you think is going on, and it's already secondary. And I go like, okay, here comes another thought.
And we all get lost.
Exactly.
And I guess what we're kind of coming we're coming back to is this thing where, you know, how do we feel feelings? Because at the moment in our world, we aren't feeling feelings. We're conceptualizing feelings. We are, I don't even know how to say it, we're kind of like, we're so violent with them. We are meeting them at such a rigid, such a physical and mental, and we aren't really able to meet feelings because the current lens that we have is that they're a problem. So we're meeting them mostly with the mind.
Yeah, that's it. The way I see the thoughts expressed through words, a feeling expressed through movement, and a sound. For me, sound is everything. Actually, in my men's group, you know, when we do this, like a check-in, first thing, like, hey, how is everyone? We don't talk. It's like, how are you? The man tunes to himself and goes like, oh, God, something like that. And the whole room goes like, I get you. Thank you. The communication is profound. And then the next man makes a completely different sound. And through the sound, because when we were born, right, the first year, what was there? There was no thoughts. So most primary expression was movement and the sound. Bingo, right?
Movement, sound, and I mean, there is a kinesthetic, you know, there is this, you know, for me, like before, like if someone's very connected to their feelings, when we feel that in ourselves, and we are in deep connection to that.
Yeah. That communicates.
That communicates. Just like, you know, and again, like it's, we don't have the social structure, or we don't have the frame or the permission. You know, in your men's group, there's a permission. In my therapy room, there's a permission to go that slowly, to take time to connect into ourselves and then meet the present moment beneath the story of what we think is going on. Which is profound, you know, when you and I sit and where we just go purely into the feeling realm, there is a union. And, you know, we're friends. We've been friends for about 8 years, primarily because we noticed each other instantly through the subtlety and the, you know, what our passion is and the way we met feelings. And we've always had this thing when we sit in feelings together, we don't speak.
No. Sure.
And there's just this energetic union with ourselves and with each other that is mysterious,
and fully communicative,
intimate, and there isn't any kind of idea of what's going on. It's actually kind of cosmic.
Kind of cosmic, yeah.
Kind of cosmic. Don't know what other word to use there. Divine.
That's it. Same. It's that recognition of that. It's like when feelings don't vibrate, there's no meeting place. When they do, we just, by default, we connect.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, hello. It's even in just the way you speak. Like you couldn't speak the way you speak if you were not having this emotional intelligence that's like, wow. For me, it's like a wow, emotional intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a training to be able to be with the present moment and then just learning to trust it. I mean, we're both really big believers of that. Just come down from the mind.
Yeah.
Feel what's present and follow it.
Step back and let it lead the way.
let it lead the way. And there's such a trust that starts to form in doing that. It's just such a divine thing to let go of the reins and let your life start to move through you, the intelligence. I mean, I think that's what I love the most, is that these feelings are so intelligent.
Oh my God. Well, that's why the ego doesn't have acceptance for them, because, you know, like an ego is like an unconditional non-acceptance of feelings, because it would have to find out it was just dumb.
I totally get you. And I feel like I love the ego. It's so sweet. It's scared.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah,
because you have consciousness in there. You see, you have consciousness in that. You saw it. I think once you see the ego, and once the ego sees itself, which only feeling can really help it to reconnect it. I think that's the healing of the ego. It's just through the feelings.
That's so beautiful. That's
Yeah.
good. I like how you express that. That's really... It is like when you see it. My God, now, you know, even when I'm still struggling with something, I can just see it's this poor little thing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, honey.
So scared that it's separate from God. So scared that it's done something wrong, and so scared that it will never find peace. And it just works so hard to protect itself in this fragment that because it doesn't believe it's lovable, you know. But yeah, it's true. It's true. When it's seen, that softness comes. But before that, eek.
Yeah. You know, I've been doing this Righteous Wolf for a very long time. And I love there is a tiny little chapter on ego. It's probably the shortest chapter in the whole book. And it actually says there's nothing wrong with ego. But it says there's a tiny little disease in the ego. And that disease can be healed. And then ego will actually nicely align with the rest of you.
Yeah.
It's a little...
So sweet.
It's just really sweet. And I'm like, it's trying so hard to be...
To help you. Trying so hard.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
Yeah.
That kind of like sums up the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. The attitude towards, you know, what is this mysterious feeling realm? You know, I think from today it's this thing of like really changing the attitude towards them, being open that they aren't what you think they are. And that if you keep relating to them as the problem, they continue to be in so much pain, and they persist because they're contracted against this blame. You know, they're just holding themselves against being blamed and told that they are in trauma or that they are bad or that they're causing you problems. They're like so deeply misperceived.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So is there anything else that you'd like to add or to summarize or express before we finish?
The punitive attitude gets healed by showing it that it is actually its salvation, or its...
That feeling is its own salvation.
The mind that was punitive and rejecting of feelings is actually learns that through feelings it can grow and deepen and remember the presence again, the presence of God within, that no longer judges or condemns, but it's just pure presence. Doesn't label exactly, that creates a loving presence towards feeling. Feelings embrace back to the mind and birth the heart. And then body reflects it as in full alignment and balance within the self.
Yeah, well, that was a nice summary. That was a nice little kind of completion. Yeah, that's beautiful. So thank you, Cole.
Thanks, Lorella. And I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah, it's a complete delight.
Because that what you bring in is so precious for me to get it from that somatic perspective and from a feeling of the feeling person, because I'm more mind for sure.
Yeah. And I really love, I mean, you come with these incredibly intricate maps, and, you know, sometimes you'll just say this little thing and I'm like, oh, I've never really thought about that, or I've never played with it like that. And then I take it into my body and I play with it, and it's just, you know, so many gifts. So I'm really looking forward to this journey where we're playing with, you know, sharing the journey from wildly different polarities.
That's it.
And, yeah, really listening to each other, really feeling each other's journey, and getting to share it with all of you out there. So
yeah, thank you for that, because I'm learning that, you know. I'm learning that to be even more receptive. I feel I'm receptive to feeling, but to actually learn it in a dialogue, and to really
kind of felt sense dialogue.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great container for us.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So thank you everyone for listening and staying with us, and we will be returning regularly
with more
explorations of this wonderful, mysterious realm of feelings.
Thank you.